Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. You are now on week 3 of Tax Lien and Tax Deed Investing 101, Reclaiming Government Systems to Build Generational Wealth. I am your professor, Antoinette Apollon, aka Red Lotus Chick. Now this week we are going to be discussing something that can make or break your deal. We are going to be talking about due diligence. We're going to explore the basics of property valuation, assessment, and recognizing crucial red flags that can make or break your deal. So for the first part, the property valuation basics, we're going to focus on comps or comparable sales. And I just want to make one very important note that comps is more than just price per square foot or price per acre. Now, some of you may know, but I'm a land girly here. I talk about investing in tax defaulted properties and buying land, so I will use land in these examples. When you are considering a parcel of land to buy, you want to do more research than just price per square foot or price per acre. Things that can impact your marketability and your property value would be things like, is it buildable or not buildable? The zoning. Other things that can impact the value of your property would be, hey, are there utilities available? Is it connected to county water and sewer? If not, can a septic tank be installed? So these are all things that you want to consider when you're looking at comparable sales, because when you compare, you want it to be apples to apples. Another little pro tip, if the lot is cleared versus if it's not cleared. Land clearing can be fairly expensive. So these are things that you want to consider when you're trying to evaluate the value of the land. That's rule number 1. Look beyond just price per square foot. Now, for part 2, we're going to discuss property assessment fundamentals. I want you guys to think chain of title here. So, when you go to the property appraiser site and they give you all of the nice information like the sale history, how many times this property has been sold, and tax information, that property assessment and making sure the chain of title is clear is very important. A real life story here. One of my mentees invested in a plot of land. She bought it from a tax auction and everything looked great until it got to title, and then they recognized that there was a sale that happened that was not recorded. So therefore there was like an unclear break in the chain of title. It caused for the deal to take longer to sell because she had to go through the process of quieting the title. So when you are looking at the property's history, be sure to pay close attention to make sure that the sales match up in the history. Another personal example would be, once I bought a plot of land that was illegally subdivided. And I didn't know it was illegally subdivided, but I found out because they recorded the legal description incorrect. So the county was coding my property as landlocked, but I knew that it wasn't landlocked because there were properties on it. There was a mobile home on it before, and it caused me to have to do like a lot of digging. And I found out that years ago, a previous owner illegally subdivided the parcel, and they forgot to include the entire legal description, which had the easement information in there. So I had to go back, get lawyers involved, get survey consultants involved. And let me tell you, that deal was very difficult for me. It took me like 6 months to sell, but I learned a ton from going through that experience. So just taking a second to really double check that chain of title and that legal description will save you a ton of time. And then for the third thing we're going to discuss is crucial red flags that you do not want to miss. So a lot of times when we're looking over the property assessor site, you guys, it may feel like you're looking at Greek, but just think of it as a story. You want to make sure that the property was transferred and that whenever it was sold, that there were, corresponding deeds to go with it. Other things that might be red flags is if you see on the GIS map anything that's kind of funky. For example, if you see an address associated with a property and you look it up on Google Maps, and Google Maps shows you a home, let's say, for example. But then when you look at the property assessor site, it shows you a plot of land behind a home. I always say go by the GIS map because the GIS map is your Bible. But those are some telltale signs that maybe you need to do a little deep digging. Anything that makes you pause and question, I would say to look deeper. I can give you an example. There was a story of a father and son who bought a house off of the tax sale auction for pennies, but they didn't realize they weren't buying the house. They were buying the sliver of concrete in between the house, and they paid thousands of dollars for this sliver of concrete. So paying attention to those parcel lines, that's going to be super important. Pay attention to if the parcel line is like a little triangle or something weird. Anything that makes you pause and say, let me ask some more questions here. On the environmental side, things that you should consider are if you're buying land, if there are any state-specific or county-specific environmental laws that you need to be aware of. I'll give you another example. In Florida, we have gopher tortoises, and they are an endangered species. So if you have a gopher tortoise on your property, you cannot move that tortoise, or else you are going to be fined thousands of dollars. And as a matter of fact, if you're trying to sell your land to a developer, they will actually not buy your land until you get that mitigated. And again, it can cost you thousands of dollars. Another crucial red flag would be if it's in a flood zone, you definitely want to double check FEMA to make sure that your property is not in a flood zone. And one last tip, checking the property history. If it was ever a commercial property and was transitioned over to residential, double check to see if there have been any environmental hazards or environmental dumping that might impact your land. That's going to be another rabbit hole for another day. But anything that causes you to pause, that means pause. Take caution, ask more questions, and if you cannot get a clear answer between what's listed online and maybe speaking to the county, it's okay to skip it. So that has been week 3 of due diligence. Now, the discussion topics that I want you guys to answer are, in your particular state, what are some red flags that you know of or learned of while you were doing your due diligence? Be sure to join the free community to get into the discussion, and I will see you guys next week with week 4. Bye.